Hello and welcome to the Katie Life podcast, your window to life in the UAE. My name is Anamika Chatterjee and I'm your host. I remember a time in my childhood when, while sleeping, a neighbor's cat literally jumped on me. The trauma of that event meant that I spent much of my life being extremely scared of pets. Thankfully, that changed a couple of years ago when a friend helped me warm up to pets. And ever since, I have been an ardent animal lover. Thankfully, there are also people who have dedicated their entire lives to the cause of animal rescue. And Michelle Mathanda is one of them. Michelle is a primary school teacher who started an animal shelter in 2006. Today, Animals and Us in Fujairah has close to 400 dogs and 90 cats that have been rescued and are being cared for by Michelle and her excellent team. In an interview with Katie Life podcast, Michelle tells us what we need to change about our attitudes towards pets and why it's the need of the hour and not something we can put in the back burner. Please join me in welcoming Michelle Mathanda.
This is the KT Live podcast by Khaleej Times.
Michelle, before we start talking about your work as an animal rescuer, I just want to know about your formative years. What drew you towards animals?
I think I would give credit to my parents. I've been brought up in a place where, animals are loved, and my parents taught me this. My dad and mom, inbuilt this into us. It was part of our life. It was, everything that we did, surrounded around animals. We never live without animals, so I cannot think of a day without animals. So it was them that taught us that must love them, because they are equal to us. This is what my parents taught me. They are equal to us, and I always remember those words, about being equal to them. I mean, there's no difference between them and us.
And what brought you to UAE?
Oh, I was looking for a job. I was just trying. I had a job in India, and then I wanted to take, I wanted to do something different, and just I tried in the UAE, and I got through. So I just came here on a, I said, if I don't like the place and I don't like, the job, I'll go back. But I came here and I stuck on. I love the job and I love the place. So I stuck on, and, I'm here for so many years now, and I go home very little. That's
Really?
because of the work that I do here. And my children grew up here. They came here when they were very, very young, when they were 4 years old, and one was 7. And they all grew up here. My boys have been home 4 times in these decades. I have been home 6 times. So
In the past 17 years.
yes.
Oh, God. And this largely because of this animal rescuing work.
It's because of me. I think I'm the person who, we never had the time or the finances to go back home, because since we took up this commitment, we never shied away from it. Even it meant, like, giving up so many things. Even my children, they went to school, and I could have, with my job, I could have afforded them good colleges and, sending them out. But I decided as a mother, which I sometimes think I was wrong, but when I talk to my boys, they always say, you were always right. And I could have sent them out, but, I decided that, do everything there itself. And this is the biggest sacrifice I've made, but I've raised 2 lovely boys.
Now, you started Animals and Us in a very different form way back in 2006, right? So take me through that year. What is it that led you to start Animals and Us?
I think I always think of, what is the difference between animals, the animals and us? It's their circumstances. It's only their circumstance. This, always have this in my mind. And it began with CJ. She was a little puppy, and one of them was kept at our doorstep, and we took her in. And the other sister apparently was left somewhere else. And we went searching for that little one, but somehow we never got that dog. And CJ grew up with us. And after a month, uh, I saw these dogs, out on the street. And I thought, maybe it was somebody's dogs, but I saw them day after day, and there was no food and water, so I began to give food. And that's how this journey began, feeding them, then from one place to the next place. And then I had to get in touch, doing neutering and spaying, even at that time when it was so difficult and really expensive. But I did what I could do at that time, and slowly the numbers increased. And that's why there are so many other things, like we had to pick dogs which were really hurt, or hit by cars, hit and run, dogs that are abandoned. I think abandoning of dogs have started lately, but at that time there was a lot of dogs on the street. It's because people take animals into their home, and then their lifestyle changes, and then they put them back on the street, which is absolutely wrong. And when you put them back, then they have babies, and there's more babies, and there's more dogs. This is the problem.
So basically, neglect is at the core of all
I think
problems.
people just are not responsible enough for the decisions they make. And whenever you take a pet, this is a big decision you make. You are solely responsible, for the dogs, for everything that the dog has to get while he that dog is with you. So the thing is that there is the number of dogs being abandoned right now so much is because people just take a dog without deciding. Whatever you do, you need to decide about it. I think when we look for jobs, we decide about it. To get a pet, it's expensive, so you have to decide. You cannot just take a dog and then decide to throw it out on the street, and then you don't do don't do the basic things for the dog. You don't vaccinate, you don't even neuter. So that poor dog is on the street having babies, and one dog can have at least up to 24 babies in the year. So that means I'm going to be rescuing one female and 24 other dogs during the year if I don't spay that dog. So that's how we began. I began to do TNR. Of course, I couldn't afford, with my salary to do everything, but I tried. It was little, and then it became bigger, and it became bigger, and then I had 40 dogs and no cats, just one cat, Spicy. And she's still with me. She's about, when I got her, she was about already 6 years old. So now she's past her 20s, and she's very, very old. And then I began, when I had 30 and 40 dogs. At that time, it's so many years ago, and then we got the shelter that we are in right now. And I had 6,000 dirhams with me. And that 6,000 dirhams, we used to count everything to pay the rent, to get the enclosures done, we had to bargain for everything. But I never gave up. In these last 17 years, I never gave up. I never gave up once. I did everything I could. And then from 40, we became 70, 140, 200. And today we are at 400 dogs in the shelter. Plus, we have dogs out at foster, and on trial adoption, we have more than 100 dogs out.
Financial challenge must have been the biggest challenge for you in those years, right? Because caring for a pet also comes with its own cost. So how did you overcome those challenges?
I sacrificed a lot. I couldn't pay my children's fees in school because of that. And I'm never ashamed to say this. I, as a rescuer and as a mother and as a teacher, I faced a lot of challenges, but I did everything by myself. My husband and me, we did everything by ourselves. There are times we couldn't pay, fees for the boys, and we had to wait for months because we had to buy food. So we juggled between everything until like 2017, or when we did go on to, we got into social media very late. And after that, we began to ask for food, help, for support, for food, for the shelter. And that's how things went in. But until 2017, I did everything by myself. My husband and me, we both worked very hard, and we both did a lot of, we sacrificed a lot of things: holidays, coffees, lunches. I don't remember, when we went out for a dinner ever, because I used to think like, I spent that money, and then, it can be used for the dogs. But I think that, I don't regret anything that I had to sacrifice. And I'm not I don't feel at any time that I did something that I should not have done. And I'm happy that I'm here today at this part of our a part of our life where we do a lot for the community. We rescue a lot of dogs, we rescue a lot of animals, not only dogs and cats.
So, as an animal rescuer, when you find an animal on the streets, what sort of uh, condition do you mostly find them in?
If I'm what we are doing, actually there are two things that we do. We either picking up the dogs who are injured, or in places where they don't have food or water, or we are cleaning up certain areas where there are many dogs. This is the things that we actually do. And when we have a dog which is hurt, like hit with the car, I know we've had a lot of accidents, like Rusty and Ethan, and these dogs, Theo, Francis was the worst, of course. And there's a lot of it involves a lot of veterinary bills. So if the bills are not paid, if we ask for help and the bills don't get paid, it only means that I have to take it out of my own pocket. So we do that kind of work where we have to pick up, and but every single day I pick up dogs or cats. And sometimes people come to the shelter and they drop cats or dogs, either it's theirs or it's around their house. And so they come and they tell us it's not good for them to be there, so we brought them and come. So this is every day. It's a big challenge. The shelter, we face a lot of challenges like that, with a lot of animals, but we carry on.
And how do you integrate them in the shelter?
And I
Because some of them who may have experienced some form of abuse.
and I'll be honest with you, the dogs in Fujairah are really very sweet dogs. I cannot remember a time when I was, barked at, or I was bitten, or I cannot, I cannot tell you the how selflessly they love dogs love you. Yes, I mean, even if there were times when I could only take a little dry food for them, but they came running, wagging their tails, knowing that I would come every day at 9 o'clock at night. Or I was there are some places I go at 10, there are some places I go at 11. And these days on holidays I go home at 1 o'clock in the morning because I'm busy trapping the dogs to get them off the street. And I don't remember a time when I was ever bitten. And we know them. We put them into packs. They have their own packs, their own kind of their individuality that they have. The dogs. They are so we put them according to that, and we never put more than 4 dogs together.
Okay.
Yes. And we always see that there's two females and two males, or there are three males and there's a female, So and they all neutered and vaccinated. So, after neutering, we don't have a lot of problems with the dogs. Or they're only the ones that come from homes. I feel really sorry for them, coming into a place where there's so much of barking, after you lived in a home, you sit on a sofa, you've got your food, and so my heart breaks. But then after 2 days, and I'll take them off and go home because I feel so sorry for them. But we try to get these dogs out first. Whenever the ones that are dumped, we get them out first. But the ones that are dumped in such terrible conditions that actually they have to go to the veterinary clinic. They have to stay there. The latest was Ben, the husky. He's blind, and he was found roaming around in the heat of the sun, and he collapsed. And that's the time my son saw him, and then we got him to the veterinary clinic. And now he's in foster. It's really the conditions that they are in is really.
Does it hit you in the initial part of your work as a rescue, the conditions in which you would find these animals? Did it hit you very hard?
This is the reason I never stopped. When you look into the eyes of an animal, you see that that the eyes of someone asking help me. So you can never stop. And there are times when I wanted to give up, but I carried on, and I'm here now, and I'm happy with that.
And what sort of challenges do summers? This is a very challenging summer worldwide, globally in particular. But generally in this part of the world, what sort of challenges do summers bring in for?
So many dogs being dumped. The dumping of dogs is enormous. Like people going on holidays, they don't have place to keep the dogs, or they're all shifting out in summer, and then they leave the dogs. We have dogs left in the house, locked up and they've gone away. Just 3 days ago, I had four cats. They left them at the bottom of the building and they've gone. And so, and this is not the first. We've picked up, I mean, umpteen number of dumped dogs and cats. And cats, not one, like there'll be three or four together. This is the, problem. And this is because, people just go away. They haven't planned. They haven't planned for a pet. They just took the pet, it's an accessory. It's, that feeling at that time, oh, I want a dog. Everybody has a dog. Oh, I want a cat. Everyone has a cat. Oh my God, how sweet. And then it slowly wears out. The commitment is not there 100% till the end. People have to realize that pets are family. That they need that emotional support, they need that financial support, because if you don't have the finances, you can't take care of them.
Yeah, so mostly people opt for it for the optics, or or they feel that they can,
I want a dog.
yeah,
I
yeah,
want a
absolutely.
cat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want this and I want that. Yeah. But have you, thought about it? It's a big thought process. Of course, there are times when there is a problem, like, the person is alone and, suffering. Like we did have a person, a family, this person, he adopted the dog, and, he's, of course, in his conditions were so serious that, we're not sure whether he would make it. So he asked us to take the dog over, and, these kind of things we understand. When you don't have family, to back up, and you don't know about your condition, your conditions, maybe just a serious illness that you have, that is understandable. But anything else, I mean, people should think. I mean, we all know that, we all have to go back home someday. So you have to, save for that day. You have to save. You have to take back everyone and go. So you don't have to have a dog. You're not doing good to anybody by saying I want a dog and I get a dog. Oh, I'm saving, so many dogs. No, it's you can help. You can help in so many ways. You can share posts. You can come and foster. There are we have so many shelters in the UAE. You can go and foster with them. Help to take the dogs for walks. There are so many things that are being done. I mean, that's the way you can help. There's no need to take a dog off. Yeah, you can take a dog and foster the dog, and then the dog. We are looking for a home for the dog when we foster. It's like you spend time with the family. The dog spends time with the family, learns the ways of living at home, and this is for a few months until they get a home. So that's also a good thing to do, rather than adopt and then you think that a dog who's lived at home can live on the streets again. It cannot. It's not possible, and it's very, very sad, and it's terrible. It's, I mean, your heart will break if you look at these kind of cases. Your heart will break.
Can you narrate one such case?
It was Ben. I think, I'm going to say about Ben because he was the latest, because he was a husky, and his fur, there was so much of fur. He was blind, and, he was just left and he just collapsed. Ben collapsed. If I didn't get to pick him up, or I was not around there, to help him, he would have never made it. So he's an old dog. I mean, this dog was with someone for a long time, and that's really heartbreaking for the dog. And we picked the dog up. He was full of ticks, and his coat was so terrible, so terrible. But we took him to the veterinary clinic in time, however, and they gave him the IV, and he was at the vet for like 1.5 weeks. If you had seen his condition, he looked horrible and terrible. But now he's, day before yesterday, we moved him to foster, and the family's really looking after. And it makes so much of difference, to see him at the veterinary clinic and to see him in a home. I feel, whenever I see dogs going to homes and people, at least people now realize more about, adopting the mixed breed dogs. And when I see that, my heart, really sings for joy. I'm going to say this because I always think, it's look, from the street into a home, and to be loved, so much. This is the best thing that happens to me. I think, I'm very emotional about dogs getting into homes. And whenever I rescued a dog in terrible conditions, like Rusty, his legs were broken, and his ribs were broken, and we're not sure what happened to him. But when I picked him up, because we couldn't, because if you, they bite you if you're they are in pain, so they're going to bite you. So we have to, like, put him onto the cloth underneath his body, slowly put him onto a slip leash, and get him to turn onto the cloth, and then we have to tie him, tie the cloth up, like, at the end, and get him into the car. You see, these kind of cases are, uh, they break my heart. Like, I cry. And then, once I put them at the veterinary clinic, then Lynn is the lady. There's Lynn and Lauren and Sean and Sangeeta, Lionel, Shanag. These are the ladies who help. But we are a very multicultural team. And after I take the case up, I leave it to Lynn, because I can never go back to look at it again, because it breaks my heart. And it's not because I was always a very brave person, but I think over the years, I have, slowly, I have, cannot see it anymore. I'll see it that once. And when I leave the dog at the vet, I see it that time. And the only time I want to see it is when it's at home, when the dog goes to a home. So, it's very, very heartbreaking. And it's very, very heartbreaking for
Do
me.
you also give guidelines to people who adopt?
Yes, we have a very good setup for that. Sean is the lady. She's from Italy, and she's the one who heads that adoption. For us, and Lauren and Lynn do help her. And we have, we interview the people. We go and meet them at home. We see the family. We ask them about relocation. But we always tell them that if at any time you are in a problem, and always come back to us. The dog should come back to us. We've had three dogs come back to us in these last 17 years.
What about cats?
Oh, we have a lot of cats, and to get homes for cats is really difficult. But whenever people come to adopt dogs from us, and they don't, especially those who would like to have adopt puppies, and they are working, like, many hours. We ask them, like, if you'd like to help out with the cats, you adopt a cat. Why don't you adopt a cat? So that's how we do get our cats out, and we try our best. But it's difficult to get fosters, and adoptions very quickly with cats, but we do try. And we did only have very old cats, because when we moved to the shelter, we moved the cats that were in front of our villa. So we had very old cats, all 17 or 16 or 15. And to look after and dogs and cats, it was difficult. But you cannot say no when they come to you. So that's how we continued with the cats. And of course, we always help the cats. In fact, I think in the last 2 days, I've picked up the most number of cats, like 13 cats.
Wow.
13 cats.
There is a lot of awareness being raised on not using products that are animal tested. As somebody who's actually an animal rescuer, do you see that there is greater sensitivity among people?
I don't think that this is catching up too much about, using animal and, animal. There are people who do it. I wouldn't say it's a no thing, but it's not like, it's not it's not into it as yet, like into a big thing. It is there. People talk about it. We don't use it. I won't use it. And there are people who don't use it, but there are people who are still using it. I mean, that kind of I would use the word education on these kind of things still needs to seep into people.
Hmm.
But people talk about it, and it's good. It's education. Educating people is the key. I feel education is the key. I still feel, and I will say, as a teacher, I feel that animal welfare should be a subject in school. It should be a subject in school, especially even me. I came from a home where my parents loved animals, but I still learned so many things along the way. It's not that whatever they said were right. Of course, they also didn't know many things. But as I started looking after the animals here and in India, while my boys, they grew up with animals. I never had a walker for my boys. They never walked with a walker. My boys walked with the dogs. So it is when I had to do some work, I had to leave the baby with the dog to go and do some work. And there was never a time. And this is something I say from my personal experience, that there was never a time that I had a problem. I think it's just people. You need to know that how to. We don't get dogs to train our dogs. Stand, sit. Jump through hoops. Yeah, this is not for the dog. Yes, of course, we are happy that the dogs do it, but it's not a thing. Oh, do the dogs know how to go to the toilet? Will they go to the toilet? These are not things that dogs have to know. It's you. So when you make animals or even a cat, I think I have cats at home who are, they're dogs. They're not cats anymore. They're just like the dogs. They go out they know how to go out to the toilet. They know how to, sit on your lap like the dogs. They know how to ask for love. Although cats are so different from dogs, but it's the same. So I think, all these things, about even animal welfare, with keeping pets still has to seep in. Yes, people are adopting a lot these days, and that trend is setting in. But I think there are other things that really need to, it has to, the people have to imbibe that yet. Yeah.
Do you see the attitudes changing largely? Do you see younger people being more sensitive towards animal welfare?
I wouldn't comment on that too much because I still feel that this journey is really long. It is something that it's something that you have to be very passionate about. Something that is set in. I know people who I know I could name people who are very 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 they it's them. It's just that animals and them. But others still have to learn that there are many families absolutely love the animals. It's not they never say the word animal. They would always use the word it's their baby, or and I respect that. I don't have any. Everybody has their own way and their own opinions, but the basic thing about animals, it's still there's a long way to go, I think. And as I said, as a teacher, and as a mother, I would say today that animal welfare needs to be a subject taught in school, because children have to learn. Like we learn, the world has changed. There's so many things are trending right now. We learn it because we're in school with our peers. We learn, we talk about it, so we learn all those things. So it's a learning. So animal welfare has to be a learning too, because it was never a learning. It was what was there at home. You had the dog, and mommy looked after the dog, and we gave the dog this and we gave the dog that. So it has to be a learning. To start. I feel as humans, we feel that we have we feel that no, it's our right to live in this world. No, it's not that. It's their right too. It's so important because animals animal welfare not only about animals, it's all about us. It's about us too. It's about our living conditions, it's about our health, our environment, it's about the economy. And so many people, they make money off the back of animals, and that's very disturbing.
Michelle, you have sent a very, very powerful message through this podcast, and I'm really glad that we could talk about animal welfare at length. And you have created such a powerful community, small but powerful community of people who genuinely care about animal welfare. More power to you, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. And, good luck with all your work in the future. Although I spoke to Khaleej times many times, and I think Khaleej have written about me many years ago. And I'm glad to be back, and, talk about this.
We document these uh, achievements that make life in UAE so dream worthy.
This is an absolutely awesome country. I
Yeah,
think my children only stay here because they
absolutely.
cannot you cannot begin to think of another journey somewhere else. And absolutely, there's everything. It's such a beautiful country, and such the leaders are they are at the highest. Whatever I've known, they do everything for the people, and I've seen them, and for the expats too. So I'm happy to be a part of the UAE. Yes, and it's a long time, and I hope to stay here for a long time, and then
More power to you. Thank
you.
you so much. As Michelle said, we need to change our attitude towards animals. It's no longer an idea we can simply ponder over. Rather, it's the need of the hour. Share your thoughts on this episode of the Katie Life podcast on all our social media channels. And remember, Katie Life podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and Google. With camera person Shihab, multimedia producer Phil Green, and editorial intern Simran Makwana, this is Anamika Chatterjee signing off. Thank you.